G'day people, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making the outside of a bag that I'm using my quilt squares for. The 14 centimetre or 5.5 inch size is what I'm using today, but you can certainly use the bigger sizes. I've made them up to a 20 centimetre or 8 inch size, and they are really, really good totes. Most of mine have been around for a long time. I'm going to be doing it with this design, which I already had stitched out. Definitely lighter weight batting will make this an easier thing to do. So let's get started. This is a Simplicity bias tape maker. I've got the 1/2 inch nozzle attached to it. I cut the end of 1 inch wide fabric so that it's easier to insert. Once I can see it in there, I can pull it along. It's certainly possible to make your tape with the ones that use an iron and are just basically a nozzle like that. I definitely do not want to touch that silver bit. It's very hot. Now that it's saying ready, put that back in and click it in and then press run. The machine is actually pulling it through and it's ironing it as it goes, and I get a really nice consistent piece of tape. I also have other nozzles, so that one is for folding things in half. I use that for my binding, and this one is for 1 inch tape when I'm doing bigger, wider joins. This is going to be the front of my bag. I have got 2 sets of 4 designs that are zigzag together. The zigzag is 5 wide and 2 long, and I've just buttered those bits together and then zigzagged over the join. So I made 2 sets of 2 like this, and then put them together and zigzagged over that join. So I now have a front, a back, 2 sides, and a base. So I've got all the pieces ready to go, and now I'm going to take my front and back and my base. Top of the front, top of the back. I need to put a base in between it. The base isn't really going to get seen very much, so it doesn't matter which way around it goes. I'm just making sure I've got the right one. And I'm going to zigzag here and zigzag here, just butting them up together and joining it. You can see where I've zigzagged the base of the bag in, just a zigzag. I'm going to line this bag because it's just easier to do. I need to measure from one end, top of one side, to the top of the other. 28.25 inches, which is 72 centimetres. I am going to need 3 pieces of tape that are long enough to do that length. So I need one on here. I'm going to need one on that goes along there, but it won't go along till the end, and one for this side. So there are 3 pieces that need to be that long. I've then got some excess tape at the end, which I hopefully can use to go across this way. So my aim now is to put tape across these 4 joins, and also I need to put tape on my sides across these joins, and I'm just stitching my tape on with a straight stitch down either side of that piece of tape that I made earlier. As you can see, I have now got the 4 pieces of tape across those joins. I've also got tape across the middle of the sides of the bag. The next thing I need to do is get one of my long pieces of tape and put it down the middle. At this point, my bag is starting to come together. The biggest part of it is done. Base is going to be down here, and I have to put the sides in. So they are the bits that have to go in here. To put them in, I'm going to start by zigzagging each side to the center square, what will be the underneath. I'm going to zigzag them along there, exactly the same way that I did with joining everything else together. Now that these side pieces are attached, I have to start stitching the side to the front. Now, under normal circumstances, you would put them together like that and stitch, but we're doing it Quilt As You Go. So I'm going to put on a zigzag, same as I've done in all these other places. I'm going to put the needle down here, and as I sew, I'm going to bring these together. I am going to put the camera on it now so that you can watch how I sew this together. And then I will be sewing the other side here, same thing, and attaching binding, which will cover all of those joins. At the point when you start drawing the side and the front together, if you have got a lightweight batting, maybe a thin cotton batting, you'll find that it's easier to work with. The machine is set to zigzag. I'm joining the body of the bag to the side of the bag, and I'm going to start with a lock stitch and give it a few moments to do a few zigzag stitches. Now my idea, what I have to do is pull this together until they join. On this particular machine, I can set so that the foot will come up every time I take my foot off the pedal. Otherwise, what you need to do is lift the foot and start to bring it together and just zigzag. Once it starts to get going and you get away from that corner bit, it will be no different really to every other time you do this. So by this point I'm getting pretty close. And now I just need to bring those together. As I come up and I've got the center of the side and the center of the front, I bring them together. My left-hand side's a little bit shorter than the right-hand side, so I'm giving a bit of a tug on that to make them match at the top. Now, that means that that side, sorry it's hard to film this, is now sitting up high, and I'm going to do this one. I will adjust my machine so that I've got the foot in the pivot mode, which should make things a little bit easier for me. So there's the side of the bag, going into the base of the bag and coming around to the front, to the side, to the back. I know it's really hard to see here at the moment. Actually going to put this piece of tape down here first. It's a bit easier while this is still open. To do it, I need to put the bag essentially inside out. Not that there's much inside out at the moment. And I'm going to stitch my tape down this side, closest to the main part of the bag, and it will have to have a little tiny pleat in it just there. Front of the bag is here. This is the side of the bag. I'm putting the tape in between, and I'm doing it on the side of the tape that matches with the front of the bag, not the side. I've got my needle position, my needle drop position set to 1.0, and I'm using the inside part of the foot to guide me. The difficulty with this comes because you're just sitting in or trying to sew in such an awkward position. So I'm coming to the center of the front, center of the side. You can see the fabric wants to bend up here. There's that corner that I did. So what I'm doing is coming down to the corner and keeping on sewing just the same at the moment. When I get to halfway through this piece of tape, I'm going to turn a little bit for the machine. So I'm going to put my foot up, which I hope you could see inside the big mess that's there. I've still got my needle in, but the foot came up, and now I'm going to turn things and start working across. This is the base of the bag, this is the side of the bag. But I'm still just doing a straight stitch. Really hard to get you able to see what I'm doing here. Once again, I'm coming across to that bit between the base and the back of the bag. When I get halfway across that tape, I'm going to lift the foot and readjust. I need to get this all nice as flat as I can. Put the tape on top, and I'm worrying more about the left-hand side here because that's what I'm trying to sew. out of the bag now towards the top, so it's much easier to get things to lay flat. So this is the side of the bag. That tape is all sewn around on the main side. This is the front, the bottom, the back. It's all sewn there, but it needs to be sewn down on the other side. Now, you could try and do it as I just did, move the needle from the left side across to the right and do it. But I wonder if you noticed how much easier it was for me to be coming out of the bag here than it was going in, because I was getting into the complicated bit. So what I want to do, if I can, is to stitch from here out and from here out. And at the moment, because of where my needle is, it's easier. I wouldn't say easy, but it's easier for me to put my bag in here and stitch down the left side. So I'll do that now. Oh. This one here is on the right side, so I'm going to adjust my needle, which in my case I'm just going to use my favourite stitches, and adjust my needle over to the right hand side. Make sure everything's flat. One thing you definitely don't want to do is to stitch some other part of the bag to this and have to unpick it. The only bits of this now that have not been stitched are here across the bottom and where the corners come together. I actually liked, because I'm going to make a little pleat, whoops, I'll try and get that so you can see it. I actually like to do this little bit by hand because I'm going to make a little pleat there, but I will now stitch across here. Hopefully you can see there, I'm doing this bit joining the bottom to the side, second row of stitching. You can see the bit where it's not done in the corner. I'm not going to try and do that with the sewing machine because it needs a little pleat in it. So I'm just going to get somewhere close. And I'll do a lock stitch. One of the other things you can do that can make things a bit less bulky, I've done one of those zigzags with the second side onto the front or back, whichever it is, of the bag. Only do one and then get started on the tape, because at this stage I've still got things quite open and I can get into it a lot easier. So if I come back here to this top of the second thing where I'm putting the bag together, I'm going to start sewing the tape down now. It will be so much easier to get it down before that fourth side is joined. Coming up towards where my corner is. And then I need to turn and go down the join between the bottom and the side of the bag. And this is awkward. Allow me to assure you, anyone who's making bowls and things where you have to pull stuff together, it's awkward. Turn the pivot off at the moment because it can hold the fabric down for me. And do this bit across the middle here now. Just move my needle over. And now I need to get that out of the way so that I can zigzag together this last side. And I'll put my pivot on now. Once I've got this going down a straight side, I'll turn the pivot off because I want it to be holding the fabric together. Now we're looking into the inside of the bag, and you can see it's a really nice firm tote bag, or it's going to be. It is perfectly reasonable and would be easier in those fiddly bits if you used a lighter weight wadding than this one. I've got a very lightweight cotton wadding that would have done a good job. Now if I show you the corners, this is where I'm going to do a little tiny bit of hand stitching. It would barely be noticeable, but I'm going to put a little pleat in there because this fabric has to come around a shorter area on this side than it did on that side. So I'm going to do a little tiny bit of hand stitching on there. And when we come back, I will do handles and my lining and how I join them together at the top. Now that I've got the bag body mostly together. I've still got a little bit of hand stitching to do. Next time I will put in the lining and the handles, and we'll have a finished tote bag that is quite unique. See you next time.